my heart a little bit. So Proverbs 4:23 says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. So it's kind of like, have you guys, I'm sure your parents tell you this all the time, and it's really annoying, but it's kind of true. The people you surround yourself with, what you hear, what you see, it's kind of what you start doing, what, your behavior turns into. And it's true. So if I'm surrounding myself with these guys, and I'm just, letting their actions dictate what I was doing in my life, I was not living to God's standards, okay? So if you aren't dating, that's okay. Be intentional. Use that time right now to focus on Jesus. Use that time while you're not dating to have him be the number one in your life. Start creating those habits, because they're habits that you could use for the rest of your life. So start creating those habits. If you are dating, still make Jesus the person that is the most important in your life. Guard your heart. Don't give your heart away so easily to people that you kind of have no heart left. Protect it, guard it, keep it valuable, keep it safe.
Okay, tip number one, guard your heart. Tip number two is this: become friends first. Okay, become friends first. So I was 11 years ago, and I helped my friends move into their house, and they were all on the soccer team, so all these soccer guys were together, and I helped them move in all day long, and that night they kind of had a housewarming party. And this girl walks in, and as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh, dang. Right? Like, that's literally all that was going on. Girls, let me just be honest with you right now. When you see a guy, that's all that's going on in there, right? Like, their minds, you think, like, what are they thinking? It's probably really good, right? It's true. So I saw this girl, and I'm like, oh, wow. Right? She was super hot. And I'm like, dude, I got to talk to this girl, right? Because this was my thought. After I gathered my thoughts, I was like, then I gathered them all up, and I was like, okay, here's the deal. She's fine. I'm fine. We're going to have a fine marriage, right? Like, that's where my mind went. It started with, she's fine, I'm fine, we're going to have a fine marriage. And so I was like, man, I got to talk to this girl. And so I went up and I talked to her. I was like, hey, what's up, girl? Right? I don't know why I get weird, but I got weird, right? I got weird. Like, I don't know. That's actually what happened, right? So I talked to her, and she looks back and she's like, you're weird, right? But then we started talking more. And after a couple weeks, I'm like, man, I got to ask this girl out. Right? Like, I got to ask this girl out because, like, she fine, I fine, we're going to have fine marriage, right? So I'm like, I got to ask her out. So finally I work up the courage, and I go to ask her out, and I'm like, hey, yo, so, like, Friday night, you and me, right? We're hanging out, like, will you go out on a date with me? And she says this, right? She looks right back at me after I worked up this courage, and she could tell I was fine. She looked right at me, and she was like, I don't know what your intentions are, but I can't date you right now. I was like, what the heck? Sounds like you just said no. She's like, yeah, I said no. I'm like, what is going on? And she goes, no, seriously, I'm right now, I'm focusing my relationship with God, and I have to work on that for 7 months. And at the end of 7 months, if you want to date me, you can. 7 months. And I'm like, 7 months, man, what the heck am I going to do? And so I called my friends up because they were all cheering me on, right? Guys, you got to have some people in your corner that are like, hey, you can do it, right? So I called them up, and I'm like, this girl, man, I finally asked her out. She said I could wait 7 months. She said I could wait 7 months. And all my friends are like, dude, get rid of her. Like, do not wait. Like, what is she thinking? That's not worth it. I'm like, you know what? I think it's worth it. Like, I think she's worth it. I think I'm going to wait 7 months. Like, I think I'm actually going to wait. My friends are like, you're crazy. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do it, right? And I waited 7 months. And for 7 months, I hung out with her. In 7 months, we became friends. And what happened over those 7 months is not only did we not date, but before we even dated, because at the end of 7 months, we went on a date. We never stopped dating, right? But at the end of 7 months, we were already best friends. We became best friends before we even started dating, right? Before we even started dating. And what it did for our relationship was so valuable. Was so valuable. Even now, after 9 years of marriage, right, 11 years later, We're friends. And we have a friendship that we fall back on when things get difficult, when things get hard. It's not that we were just into each other because we thought each other were attractive, right? It's not just that we were into each other because it was fun to hang out. Like, we had a friendship that we could fall back on, right? Friendship is important. And I know in here, every single one of you are afraid of something called friend zone, right? You're like, but if I become like too close with someone that I'm attracted to and want to date, then I'm going to be friend zoned and I'm going to be stuck there forever. Right? But here's the thing. Becoming friends first will help you not get hurt. It'll help you not get hurt in a relationship because you're already friends with them, right? It will help you have a stronger relationship. It'll let you know even if you even want to get involved with that person, because if you become friends with them, you become good friends with them, and you're like, hard pass. Now that I actually know them, now that I'm friends, like, I do not want to date them, right? And you before you even get into a dating relationship where you could get hurt and you could have issues and you could have things, you already know whether you want to date them because you became friends with them. Okay, so here's my challenge. Whether you're dating someone or whether you're not, right? If you're not dating someone and you're thinking about dating someone, or in the future when you do, pause and don't just jump in without being friends. Don't just go, okay, well, listen, you fine, I fine, we're going to have a fine relationship, right? Don't do that. Don't do that. Get to be friends with them before you jump in to a relationship. And if you're already dating someone, this is awesome and this is wonderful and I hope we hold hands, right? Like, don't make it about that. Make it about the friendship. Tip 2, become friends first. Okay, tip 3 is this. Here's what a lot of people do. Don't abandon your life. Don't abandon your life. Because here's what happens. You start dating someone and you're like, man, they are awesome and you're so into them and you just want to spend all your time with them and you just want to pour all your effort into them and you want to be with them so much that next thing you know, you forgot about your other friends and you forgot about your life and you don't do the things that you did before and your interests and all those things change because you've lost your life. Okay, a few years ago I was in a wedding. And I was sitting around the table with all the other groomsmen before the wedding. And it was my cousin's wedding. My cousin and I were really close growing up. We were really best friends growing up, and we spent a lot of time together. But I hadn't seen my cousin in a couple of years. He hadn't spent time with me. He was dating this girl that he proposed to, and then they were going to get married. And he asked me to be in the wedding because we were lifelong friends. And as I'm sitting around this table with all the groomsmen, my cousin leaves the room. And so I asked the guys around the table, I'm like, man, I haven't really spent time with my cousin in a while. Can you guys tell me how he's doing? Like, how's his life going? What's he up to? And each one of the guys around the table looked at me, they're like, you know what, honestly, we're not sure. I'm like, how do you not know? Like, we haven't hung out with him in a couple years. And they said, I don't even know why I got asked to be in the wedding, honestly, like, because I don't spend a lot of time with him. And I'm like, wait, so you're telling me none of you have spent time with him? Like, no, not since he started dating Ashley. And I'm like, okay. I said, second question, though. How do you guys think this relationship's going to go? Because I don't know anything about him. And they said, it's not going to last, man. And I'm like, guys, it's his wedding day. Someone has to say something to him. And they're like, we can't. He's pushed us all away, and we don't have that right. Like, we can't tell him. We can't talk to him because he won't let us in his life anymore. Went through with the wedding. The wedding was awesome. Tons of food everywhere. It was a really expensive wedding. It was right on the water in San Diego. It was amazing. And 3 months later, they got a divorce. 3 months, their marriage lasted. Because my cousin had taken his life and his dating relationship, and he had made his life completely about the person he was dating, and he had forgotten his old life, his own life. Everything that was his, he literally just got rid of it. He abandoned his life. If you're going to date someone, don't abandon your life.
So, you guys, I told you my dating history. Do you think that my life was kind of like Caleb's, his cousin? Do you guys think that, like, since I dated so many people, that I shut people out of my life? I did. Like, this story is not accurate to me because I'm still married to my husband, but I could relate to what was happening at that table because I had shut everybody out in my life. I had good friends that would, you know, if I would have listened, if I would have not pushed them away, I had good friends that would have told me or tried to tell me not to date the guys that I dated. And I didn't listen because I pushed them out because I was more worried about how I felt, I had insecurities that I thought a guy could make me feel better about myself, and I pushed my friends away. To the point where, when Todd and I got married, Todd had a long list of people to be groomsmen in our wedding, and I was like, well, I have my sister, I have his sister, that's kind of it, got 2 people. And he's like, well, I got like 10. So, well, let's call some old high school friends and ask them. And they're like, I haven't talked to you in years. Why are you asking me to do this? And it was honestly because I had pushed out so many people. Because when the red flags were there, I didn't see them. I was blinded. And then when my friend said something, I pushed them away. So take it from someone who's been in those situations. I could have saved myself so many heartbreaks, so many bad situations of my life if I would have listened to what my good friends were telling me. And I probably would still have some good friends now, from high school.
And the truth is, we talk about it all the time, is that we need people, right? You can't do life alone. That's why we love groups. If you're not in a community group, you should get in a community group, because it says in the Bible, in Ecclesiastes 4:10, for if one falls down, his friends can lift him up. But pity the one who falls and doesn't have someone to help him up. When you abandon your own life and you push all your friends away and you focus only on the person you're dating, you're putting yourself in a bad spot. Right? So here's my advice. If you're dating someone, when you're dating someone, limit the days that you're with your boyfriend or girlfriend. Listen, you'll live if you don't see them every single day. All right? If you don't see them every single day, it's okay. Make time for your other friends. Maybe 1 day a week, 2 days a week. You're like, these are the days that I just hang out with my friends, and don't shut out my old life, my friends, everything I have just for this person. Okay? Don't abandon your life. Tip number 4.
Tip number 4 is love yourself. I'm actually super passionate about this. I'm a professional makeup artist, and a lot of what people think about professional makeup artists is that they put on a mask to hide who they truly are. But I kind of believe the exact opposite. I believe that I can use my makeup as an expression of how much I love myself, or what I want the world to see of my heart and how I feel in that moment. So, I'll add a little extra color here and there if I'm, feeling it. So, this is something I'm really, really passionate about, because I did grow up feeling really insecure, and I thought that being in a relationship was what would make me whole, what would make me feel better about myself. So, I didn't see my value. I didn't see my value, so that when a guy would come into my life, I didn't have a value that was set high for him to value me at. So we kind of set standards for ourselves in our lives. So then when somebody else comes in your life, do you think that they're going to love you at this standard or this standard because of where you value yourself? Probably this one, right? I mean, it's going to take a really strong, amazing man to help me feel like I was at this standard. But when you put your value so low, how do you expect somebody else to value you at the level you're putting in your standard? You have to see your value before you expect other people to treat you at your value. Listen, Jesus died for you. That means you're valuable. That means you're here, okay? You don't have to do anything. You don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to have the coolest friends around. Jesus died for you. Your standard is here. But if you put yourself down here, you can't expect people to love you up here. You have to love yourself here, because Jesus loves you here. Does everybody, you guys get that? Because that's something I live for that every day. We have 4 daughters that are all under the age of 5. Yeah. So how do you think middle school and high school is going to be?
Amazing.
Fun, right? Super fun. But a part of being a mom of daughters is that I want them to fully get this, okay? I don't want them to have a boyfriend to make them feel like this. I want them to feel like this, because Jesus made them feel like this. Okay? Everybody, you guys get what I'm saying? Thumbs up?
Yeah,
Cool.
that's good. Ian's even clapping. That's good.
Thank you.
All right. Tip number 5. Tip number 5, stop and ask why. Okay, here's why. Because when you get in a relationship, the feelings are strong, right? You're like your brain's starting to mush. Guys and girls, you both do this. When you find someone that you like and they like you, you're just like, oh, this is so wonderful, right? You just float through life. You're on cloud 9. You should have seen me when I first started dating Rachel. It was like, I just walked around with this dumb smile on my face for like 6 months. I was like,
And then real life hit, and I was like, who is this guy?
yeah, I was like, She's like, why do you keep doing that? I'm like, right? Because that's how I felt. I'm like, this is so wonderful. She loves me. She touched my hand, right? Like it was amazing. And we get in this cloud 9 feeling of dating someone, right? And we're on this wonderful feeling. Everything's great. Everything's awesome. And we never stop and ask the question of, why am I actually dating this person? Right? Why am I actually dating them? Because the why for a lot of you is like, well, because they're hot and they want to date me and it makes me feel good. So why would I not? Right, but you need to stop and ask why. You need to ask yourself the question of what is the purpose of dating? Right? What's the purpose of this? What are you hoping the outcome of the relationship will be? What do you want as an outcome of the relationship? Why are you dating? What are you wanting to get out of this relationship? Why are you wanting to even date that person? See, we don't know the answer to those questions. And so what we do is we're just like, whatever, let's just go along with it. But what we need to do is we need to pause and stop and we need to ask why. Right? Because here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that you just have to break up. Or I'm also not saying that in 7th grade, the person that you decide to date is the person you're going to marry. But what I am saying is this. I want you to hear this clearly. The purpose of dating, to decide whether or not, after you spend time with them, if they're the person. But what I am saying is, if that is the purpose of dating, then you need to pause and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Do I actually think I'm going to marry this person? In 7th grade, I asked that question. If you don't have an answer to that, maybe the only thing, if you're dating someone just to date them and you don't have a reason, you can't answer why, maybe the only thing you're doing is gathering scars and gathering baggage for the future. Right? So ask yourself, why? That's
simple but really amazing. It's Jesus. Okay? So Jesus needs to be the center of your relationship. And yes, I'm even talking about the person you're dating. Okay? It needs to be the center of your relationship, like you, who you are. I'll tell you from past experiences, I've dated non-Christians, I've dated Christians, and then I've dated guys, well, one, that was passionately in love with Jesus. And my connection with him was so much more meaningful, and our relationship was so much more valuable and deeper because we both had that passionate relationship with Jesus. It is a huge part of who we are as a couple, but it was a huge part of our dating. And because we had such a meaningful relationship with Jesus, of your life and your relationship.
Jesus is super important, guys. This is the main point. Like, if you don't hear anything else when it comes to dating and advice for dating and everything, Jesus is the center of he needs to be the center of everything, right? He needs to be the center of everything because you have to have your own personal relationship with Jesus. And if you're dating someone right now and you're like, dude, I'm like 6 months in, I've been dating this person, or if you're like, I'm never going to date someone, I don't even want to get married, right? Maybe that's you. Listen, it doesn't matter. Jesus died on a cross so that you could be right with God. And for some of you in here, you've never accepted that. You've never prayed and said, God, I want you to come into my life because I accept what you did on a cross for me. You died in my place. But listen, you're not going to be able to get so many things right in your life if you don't get this one thing right. If you don't get this one thing right, so many other things will suffer. So many other things will suffer. And I'm not talking about just doing this for a relationship. Yes, I want my relationship to be good, so I'm going to follow Jesus. No. For you need to follow Jesus. You need to accept what Jesus has done. Right? And so for those of you that call yourself a follower of Jesus already, you need to feed into that. That means you need to be reading your Bible. Right? You need to be talking about. You need to be growing in your faith. Being involved in community group. Being involved in church. Serving at church.